She only asked for a bite of food. But the man she called Uncle uncovered a truth that would leave the entire restaurant in stunned silence. The restaurant buzzed with the usual noise: forks tapping plates, soft jazz from the corner, and quiet laughs over overpriced steaks. At table 7 sat Donovan West, a billionaire most people didn't recognize on sight. Dressed simple, no guards, no noise, just a man who liked his dinner in peace. Until a girl approached his table. She looked no older than 9, hair messy, cheeks hollow, wearing a thin sweater 2 sizes too big. Her hands shook as she clutched the edge of the table. "Uncle," she said softly, "I haven't eaten in 3 days. Can I please have your leftovers?" Every head nearby turned. Donovan stared at her for a second, fork frozen mid-air. She wasn't loud. She wasn't begging, just asking quietly, like she already expected the answer to be no. He set down his fork. "Where's your mom?" he asked gently. She looked down. "I don't know." A waitress started rushing over, clearly ready to remove her. Donovan raised a hand, stopping her mid-step. He pushed his plate toward the girl. "Sit," he said. "You're not eating scraps today." The girl hesitated. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," he said. "And you're not calling me uncle anymore. You're calling me Donovan." As she sat down slowly, eyes wide at the warm plate now in front of her, something strange happened. Donovan's phone buzzed. A message from his assistant, one he almost didn't read until he saw the subject line. "Security footage from earlier. Girl seen near back exit of your private property." His fingers tightened. He looked at the girl again. "Where exactly did you say you slept last night?" She paused, eyes flickering with fear. "I didn't." But Donovan already knew. She hadn't just walked into his dinner. She'd walked out of his past. Donovan leaned back in his chair, heart pounding under the calm surface. The girl shoveled the food quickly, eyes flicking up now and then, like she feared someone might snatch the plate away. Around them, the restaurant had gone quiet. Whispers floated from table to table, but no one interrupted. Not after seeing Donovan wave off security. He kept his voice low. "What's your name?" "Lila," she said through a bite of bread. "Just Lila." He nodded slowly, but something gnawed at him. That name. Her face. That back gate. "Where are you staying?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. She licked her fingers, then wiped them on her sweater. "Near the garden. Behind the big house with the white fountain," she said. Donovan felt the air leave his lungs. That was his house, his estate. She'd been hiding just beyond his security, under cameras, behind walls. "Who told you to go there?" he asked carefully. Lila glanced around. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. "No one. I just knew it was safe." "Why mine?" She hesitated. Then she pulled something from her pocket, a photo, crumpled, nearly torn at the edges. She placed it on the table between them. It was old, faded, but the image was clear. A young woman, smiling, arms wrapped around a baby, and next to her, a younger Donovan. His chest tightened. That photo shouldn't exist. "That's my mom," Lila said softly. "She told me if anything ever happened, to find him." She pointed to Donovan. "I didn't know who you were until I saw this place." Donovan stared at the photo. He hadn't seen that woman in over a decade. And if this girl was really her daughter, then she wasn't just a stranger. She was family. Donovan stared at the photo, barely blinking. The woman in it, Maya, had once been everything to him. Long before the headlines, the wealth, or the empty partnerships, she was the only one who'd seen the real him. But they'd lost touch. She disappeared without warning, just vanished from his life like smoke. Now, sitting in front of him, was a child with her eyes. He swallowed hard. "What happened to your mom, Lila?" Lila looked down at her hands. "She got sick. We moved around a lot. She never told me much, just that if something ever happened, I should find you. But after she passed, I didn't know where to go." She paused. "I remembered the photo. I walked for 2 days. I didn't know who you were. I just kept walking toward the house in the picture." Donovan's mind spun. His house, his life, just minutes away from a child sleeping outside in the cold. A child who was probably his niece, maybe more. He waved for his driver. "Take her to the car," he said gently. "She's coming home." Lila's eyes widened. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure." But the moment she stepped outside with his security, a man appeared near the exit, thin, limping, holding a tattered folder. Donovan stood fast. The man held up the folder and said, "She's not safe, Mr. West. They've been looking for her. The people her mom ran from, they never stopped." Donovan's blood ran cold. "What people?" he asked. The man looked around nervously, then shoved the folder into Donovan's hands. "Everything you need is in there, but if she stays alone tonight, they'll find her." Then he disappeared into the crowd. Donovan opened the folder slowly. Inside were documents, court files, threats, sealed custody reports, and one arrest warrant, not for Lila, but for Maya. And suddenly, nothing about this child's past was simple. Donovan sat alone in the back of his SUV, the folder open on his lap, Lila fast asleep beside him with crumbs still on her lips. The documents inside painted a story he wasn't ready for, one filled with fear, courtrooms, and a secret Maya had kept from everyone. Maya hadn't just vanished. She'd run. Years ago, she had blown the whistle on a powerful real estate firm, one tied to fraud, laundering, and worse. Donovan knew the name on those files. He'd once worked with them, long before his empire grew. Maya had been their assistant. She discovered the truth and was silenced. And now her daughter was the last link. Donovan stared at Lila, her small hands curled into fists even in sleep. She hadn't just survived hunger and grief. She had outrun something deadly. His phone buzzed. It was his lawyer. "We looked through the file you sent. That warrant on Maya? It was fake, fabricated by someone inside that company. If the girl hadn't reached you, they might have erased her next." Donovan's jaw clenched. "Find out who's behind it," he said, "and prepare a statement. She's under my protection now. I don't care what it costs." The next morning, the media exploded. Photos of Donovan holding Lila's hand, escorting her into a courtroom where he filed for emergency guardianship. Headlines read, "Billionaire takes in child who called him uncle, but the truth behind her mother shocks everyone." But Donovan didn't care about the cameras. He stood tall, one hand on Lila's shoulder, and made one promise in front of the world. "I wasn't there when her mother needed me. I won't make that mistake again." A year later, Lila sat at a piano recital, wearing a neat blue dress that actually fit her. She smiled at Donovan from the stage, not out of fear, but safety. She never had to ask for leftovers again. She had a home, and a man who finally kept his word.